was the match day of the Canadian Premier League that just wouldn't end. It was like a zombie movie. I feel like I've slept in this suit. Final score after an over 2-hour delay in Winnipeg. It's Valour 0, Forge 5. Special shout out to those Valour fans who stayed all the way to the end. That is commitment through lightning, through thunder, through 5 goals conceded. You are the true heroes of the weekend. Gareth Wheeler, Jordan Wilson with you. Don't worry, there's a third special guest, Terry Dunfield, making his triumphant return to One Soccer.
We found him.
I simply cannot wait. But before Terry joins us, let's bring you up to speed on what happened this very long weekend in the Canadian Premier League. Summer solstice was on Friday. This was studio solstice. Halifax beat Vancouver FC. 1-0 was the final. York United and Athletico Ottawa played in sweltering heat. It was a difficult one, a 1 p.m. kickoff local time in North York. They played to a goalless draw. Forge steamrolled Valour. Brian Wright with the second Canadian Premier League hat trick of the season. By the way, both hat tricks have come against Valour. Put up a 5-spot, 5-star Forge, pick up the full 3 points, and Cavalry quietly continue to roll along. They beat Pacific 1-0. That game was originally supposed to be played on Saturday, but torrential downpour pushed that game till Sunday evening. So here's your up-to-date table. It's Athletico Ottawa still leading the way, but it's tight, just like Jordan's pants. 25,
today, to be honest.
23, 20. But look at that. Forge and Cavalry both have a game in hand. York United have a 6-point gap between them, Pacific, and Valour for the 5th and final playoff spot. Who's kidding who? I wear very tight pants all the time as well. Let's start off with Forge. Complete demolition job against Valour. 5-0 was the final. Brian Wright had a hat trick. It was completed in the first half. I mean, I'm of the mindset Valour were that poor. Would you agree with that assessment, Jordan?
Valour was poor, but you got to give credit to the start from Forge because at that to get a goal.
Dan Nimick stepping up. He had 2 assists. I didn't like the first goal because of the center back play. Egwu drawn out on the second Valour goal conceded. Nimick gallivanting forward, and it's Brian Wright with the finish. Just think that this might have been a little bit of a coming out party for Brian Wright. Some easy goals against a team that shipped more than anyone in the Canadian Premier League. Valour have now conceded 26.
Yeah.
And we started off in our pre-match show discussing about maybe their lack of a number 9. By the way, you and I, neither one of us.
Egwu, if you're a center back and you step out that far, you have to win the ball.
Yeah, have to.
You can't jockey because then you're gonna have a player and making sure he serves down the platter.
Well, even on the second after the 2-hour delay. I mean,
yeah.
It was stop-start. They were back on the field. They were back off the field. A little bit farcical, but it wasn't enough for them. They just kind of laid it on. Valour. I just want to mention Valour 9 goals scored, but 26 conceded. Both are equally problematic for me, but does one stand out more to you?
At the beginning of this match, I would say the fact that they're not scoring, they're not creating, only scoring 9 goals, but they've given up 5 now to 2 different teams. That is a horrendous stat to hold. So, I mean, in the back line as well is just as bad at this moment.
They conceded 3 in the first half, 2 in the second half. So they played 11 games this season. And this is just a real problem. When they concede in bunches. And this was a Valour team. They had put together some good home form. You thought it might be a little bit of a story. They announced the signing of Keans Froese, who wasn't in the 18. He'll certainly help. But, man, I just look at the center back position, even the midfield to a certain degree, maybe not enough steel through the spine of the team, and a number 9. Because at times, the way that they play, there's some good football that they play from an attacking perspective. I genuinely think that, but too many gaps in their own area and in the opponent at times.
I mean, I hate to harp on the same thing, but I think it's important. I always want a clear person or players when you leave a match to say, okay, who's the guy that you hear? Who's that leader? And I'll wait to hear who you think it is from Valour because it's not clear. Yeah. Like you see, Fernandez obviously has talent. There's talented players in the squad, but it's not about that. Who's really rallying the troops? And you expect it to be maybe a Romeo, you expect it to be different players. Figueiredo kind of just let himself go today and is a bit of a player that let his emotions get the best of him. But there needs to be more players for Valour. Like their position. And I was raving about them because I think their bare bones, their potential could be a team that is flirting with a playoff spot. But playing like this, Wheels, They'll be lucky to finish 7th.
Look out for Forge. I mean, remain undefeated in all competitions, 13 in total, including that game against CF Montreal. They're just about fit. Borges and Eliman Cisse are both on their way to returning as well. This Forge team looks absolutely dynamite.
They look tidy. They look tidy.
Yeah.
They don't, honestly, they're not really breaking a sweat. Like, they look like they're just playing the game the way it's supposed to be played, but they also look like they're taking the game plan each week and making sure that they do what they need to do to dominate their opponent. That's what they did today against Valour. The ball's clipped in over top, runs in behind, making sure they're playing. Then you have Chouanier coming into the match. He doesn't look like he skipped a beat. I know you're playing against a Valour side that's depleted, but still, this guy was just running and he felt confident moving forward. So watch out.
And by the way, they could afford to rest Kyle Becker.
No, 2-hour delay.
In this game as well.
You leave the 34-year-old.
Yeah.
You let him do his meditation and all that on the side. You don't let him play.
So all good with Forge, all good with Cavalry. Different year, same story. Cavalry, slow start, now are 10 straight undefeated. They beat Pacific 1-0. The goal came in the 13th minute. The Moose is loose. Ali Musi from Sergio Camargo, who's having a career season as well. And at that point, Pacific are anemic in terms of their attack. I don't want to say the game was done and dusted, but it was done and dusted.
One team looked comfortable, and that was the team in red. I just want to say a few things. I'll talk about the positive, and I'll talk about the negative. The positive for Cavalry, the ball clipped in by Camargo is sublime. It's on a platter. Musi does well to bring that down and just chip anchor. But then the negative is a player like Camargo, if you've been tuning in, and I'm sure every team is, because you do film and you watch teams, there's one player that you can't leave with that much time. That is Camargo. 40, 35 yards from the goal. He has time. He's taking a touch, another touch, and he just clips the ball into Musi. Why isn't there pressure on him? Like, you look at Pacific, and we talk about them, and people will say maybe we were hard on them last week. This is a week to go and respond.
They made points, Jordan. They can't score.
He has all day to pick out a pass. Yeah. You in your the Oxbloods right now could pick out that pass if you had that time. Yeah. It's like you put his head down. Make it difficult for him. I mean,
Oxbloods.
Come on, maybe it's because of all the delays and maybe I'm a bit grumpy, but one of the best midfielders in the league, you're giving him that much time to pick out a pass?
Beyond that, those mistakes have happened. The problem is, however, Pacific can't score. They scored once in their last 6 games. But this isn't something new. This dates back to last season when they couldn't go forward and attack with any consistency. So that continues to be the main issue. And in Cavalry, again, they've dealt with their injury crisis. The first start for Kinesia Alva today, they're getting back and strong in terms of numbers and quality. And some of the young players, like Peepgrass, you're not taken out of the team. It's just, once again, it looks like Forge and Cavalry throw Ottawa in the mix. It just seems like right now, the gap has never been bigger between the best teams in the CPL and the worst teams in the CPL. Would you agree with that assessment?
Absolutely. Because every other year, you look at any matchup that's happening and you're like, okay, you don't really know who's going to win. You know a favorite. You know a team that has momentum. But certain teams feel like there's a bogey team against another. I can't say that this year. And look, the 3 teams that are at the bottom need more. We need more. Like, you're going into this week as well and not scoring goals. It's not good enough.
Yeah. Weeks ago, I claimed that there was a top 4 and bottom 4 in the CPL. I'm going to revise that. It's a 4-1-3. Because York United have played their way out of the bottom 4. They're right there in the mushy middle. They played a difficult one at York Lions Stadium. It was 34 degrees Celsius. It felt like over 40 in terms of the humidex. It was hot, Jordan. Like, how many drinks breaks did they have? Like 6?
2 each half.
I thought maybe it was 3 in the second half. Difficult one because the weather's been dreadful and cool across this country, and it was just an absolute heat show. I thought both teams did well for themselves considering the conditions, Jordan. Like, some of the mental or physical errors, I just attribute that to the conditions. But the first half, York United were the better side. In the second half, Athletico Ottawa punched back, and both teams had chances to find the back of the net in this one as well.
Yeah, you're right, Wheels. If York United were going to score, it felt like it was going to come in the first half. And look, Tier Walker, I thought he did well coming on. You see his header here. But Athletico Ottawa came to life in the second half. The quality was just lacking today from both sides. And what you see with Athletico Ottawa when they go forward in numbers, a situation like this with Sam Salter, he's probably burying that. He wants to get it on his left foot. Sterling does well.
He needs a right foot, Jordan.
He needs a right foot to just swing it across.
He's got a peach of a left foot.
Swing that across. He just kind of, he puts it in the position.
Nice job by Sterling.
Give Sterling opportunity.
Give Sterling credit.
But then you see this one here as well. When Athletico Ottawa are trying to play.
Look at this hit.
Look at this.
Solte.
Great left foot.
Pavella.
Great save by
That's
Pavella.
a great save. He's been decent enough, Pavella, hasn't he?
Yeah, for sure. This is the one I was talking about as well. Sorry. Kabata just going forward. I thought he's been exceptional for York United. And look, Farron times his run. If he takes that touch in front of Kluche, it just takes too long to make a decision. But a day maybe where the heat is not a factor, either Seltzer or Farron are putting it on the back of the net.
I'm just going to proclaim this. Like, Kozlovsky, the 17-year-old, gets some buzz. Obviously, Abotne gets some buzz. Kluche is the real deal, man. Like, the loss of Didic was a big one and still is, obviously. Lloyd Kluche's been great. That's a sensational challenge. Potential pen here. Ferrazzo pushing the back of Sammy Salter. I think so.
Should be careful for Ferrazzo, but it's not enough for a pen for me.
The guys were exhausted after this one as well. Frank Stirring did come off in this game. York United need Frank Stirring to stay fit. I think they're just kind of like that one center back away.
Yeah.
From maybe even closing that gap between them and the top four even more. So I think Mauro Eustachio has done a really nice job.
I think the biggest thing, yeah, of course, Eustachio has done a great job in his first full season as a manager. I think they need a number 9. I think if you have Altabelli that he can maybe flirt on the wing and come in, I think you just need someone else to finish matches. Rosa, they mutually terminated contract and he's going a separate way, but someone else down the spine up top could really put this team to flirt with the third or fourth. Yeah. That's what they need to be.
I mean, without Yates and without Atakubi, the midfields look good. And for Ottawa, I think that's a decent enough point. They gotta look what's going on behind them, but they're still playing some really good attacking football, and I still think that they are right in the mix with the juggernauts known as Forge and Cavalry. All right, on Saturday in Halifax, it was the Wanderers 1, Vancouver FC 0. Halifax still staying amongst the top pack in the Canadian Premier League. A little bit of a grind this one against Vancouver. They didn't give up much whatsoever to Vancouver FC. And you're going to see the goal in a few minutes' time. It's TMG. Yeah, you know me. We said run TMG. It's jump TMG because another set-piece goal. He's got 3 in all competitions. And his manager, Patrice Geyser, at the end of this, he was gushing, lavishing, just completely giving praise to TMG for his play this year. He has to be the signing of the season in the Canadian Premier League. And I think he's probably the lead candidate for Defender of the Year. Now, Dan Nimick might have a word or two about that, the former Wanderer, but TMG, would he be the clubhouse leader at this point?
I think it's close between Nimick and him. For me, Nimick takes the cake. It's hard to say otherwise.
Over TMG?
Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah.
He's playing for Forge. Yeah. Like, what TMG means for Halifax?
You could say Nimick is probably one of the most important players for Forge right now.
Only outfield player that's played every minute.
He's exceptional. But Coimbra, I like that what he's bringing from the beginning, but I think he should have hit this one wheels instead of hitting the deck. There's no pen, Campagna. I think it was decent from Vancouver, but the fact that they don't get any points away at Wanderers ground, I mean, a team that only has 6 points at this point of the season, you expect more and you want a little bit more from Vancouver.
What I like about Halifax is that they needed to win this game and they found a way. Here's the goal, set piece, Meyer Jaguar. Poor Callum Irving, man. This guy faces like 3 or 4 golden goal-scoring opportunities every week, and he's just coming up on the losing end. Irving, a character guy, hard on his sleeve, really good goalkeeper, but man, this has got to be frustrating because as consistent as Halifax has been, and that's the one thing they've been much more this year, is consistent. Vancouver are on pace for just 15 points. That would go down as the worst season in Canadian Premier League history. FC Edmonton in 2022 only had 20, and they're just about 5 points off that pace. That is wild. Because at times this year, I think that Vancouver played okay. Did they just not have enough horses, not enough consistency, not enough experience? What is it, Jordan?
I think a bit of everything you just said. Not enough consistency for one. I think you also have Aguero Diaz that's probably leaving as well. So who's starting and playing that number 9 role is going to be a proven player. I mean, you want to root for the club and you want to root for Afshin Gatbi and company and say that you're playing young players, but you still need results. Like, there's no world where at this point in the season you should have 6 points. There haven't been huge major injuries in the squad. Like, all the players are in
Miss
now.
Mosquito.
Mosquito, okay, yeah. But for me, there still should be enough to go and compete. And I know a lot of people are going to say, okay, this is one match where you go to Wanderers ground and you have to go from Vancouver to Halifax and you only lose 1-0. It could have went the other way. But you can't say that every week. Yeah. I mean, there has to be a way that you turn things around and actually get the points.
Yeah. Crisis mode in British Columbia with Pacific and Vancouver FC. No way about it. I mean, it's a real struggle at this point. And guess what? Those two sides play one another next weekend, I should say, in the Salish Sea Derby. Let's take a look at the games upcoming next weekend in the Canadian Premier League. It's a Friday night fixture, and it's the CPL on TSN, presented by One Soccer, Match of the Week. We're going to be in studio for this one. Merriman versus Gatbi, Pacific versus Vancouver. Honestly, like, we're kind of reaching the point. It's season on the line stuff between those two teams.
You're not lying. You're not lying.
Sometimes I say this. It's so bad, it's good. That's what I said about TFC and CF Montreal in the Can Champ. I think this is very much the case as well. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Canada drew Curaçao in the Gold Cup. We'll take a deep dive into that with Terry Dunfield next on Match Night.